Hi folks, it's Farmer Tom here, 18th of February, the 18th day of our Cheese a Day challenge, and I've just popped in at lunchtime because I've made an appointment with our guest today to do a virtual cheese tasting together. Now our guest is heavily involved in technology and it's an exciting time to be in farming. I mean, it's an exciting time anyway because farming is the answer to so many things, from dealing with flooding and drought to carbon sequestration to air quality, well, to so many other things. And the pace of change in farming has never been so great. So our guest today is heavily involved in technology, really at the front end of that agricultural change. And I'm excited, therefore, to welcome Rob Ward. So, Rob, welcome. It's so exciting to have you tasting cheese with us today. And I've just mentioned in the introduction that the pace of change of farming has never been so great, and that the technology is really coming to the fore in a big way. And you're heavily involved in that, Rob. Tell us a bit about what you do.
Yeah, I'll try and be brief. I love technology, and I love farming, I love food, and basically we're putting all of that together. And I was 30 years a farmer, and in that time, I patented a new way of growing strawberries. And I guess then that would have been called an ag tech business, but those days it was just called a business. Don't know. But so no, what we do, we work with agri food tech businesses around the world and help them develop their idea and find investment for them. And so it's a really exciting space. We're helping the government and the DIT with this, and at the same time working with anybody from anywhere. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's a really dramatically positive change happening. There's been a lot of activity, and it's time, I think, to look at it in a very different way.
Brilliant. So when we heard from Janet, we spoke about the legislative landscape and the kind of government interaction. But how will things be changing on farm then in the maybe kind of 5 to 10 year period with new technologies coming in? Do you think?
I I think probably the biggest impact will be biostimulants replacing inputs and seeing that accelerate through. There are farms we're working with now with biostimulants that are completely replacing NP and K, nitrogen applications, pesticide or fungicide. So that stat for arable farming is nearly a 12 billion pound business for Europe. I can see that completely reversing in a 10-year lifetime, 5 years significantly. It's already happening. I love all the posts you do about different farming techniques, about different cover crops and different ideas that are happening, all about improving soil health that affect actually helping really find the nutrition that's in the soil already to avoid having to apply chemicals to it in a way that doesn't need to be done anymore. It's a brave new world because we've had 70 years of going the other direction. I was at Agricultural College and we were taught about applying these things, and it costs that and it makes that, and it's a straightforward push me pull you thing. And I can understand a farmer thinking, well, that does the job, doesn't it? But going down the biological route, it's pretty scary. But I think as the science gets fitted around that, we're going to see a huge leap away into more biological treatments that will be revolutionary from a carbon footprint perspective.
Really, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's so exciting. And I say the most important bit of technology I have on the farm at the moment is my phone because I collate and I record and I check and I find information from the phone. That's the console. That's the kind of center of everything that we do. That's where I get all my information from. But what do you think will be some of the big changes then from some of those private companies?
Well, I guess for me, it's about trying to encourage them to do the right thing sometimes. And I think the most powerful thing that could be done is simplifying, not making it more complicated. We've got complicated problems that need simplifying. Farms don't need more user interfaces, more ways of multiple ways of trying to understand something. Actually, the technology, if it does this job, will make things easier, not harder. So that seeing how data can be interacted together and aggregated in a way that can really fast stream new ways of doing things. We're seeing it as an example in horticulture as a data business, and they've reduced plant breeding time by 80%, which when you think that it used to take Niab East Malling to develop a strawberry variety 15 years, and now that could be 3.5 years, that's a pretty exciting place.
Yeah.
And that's not by genetic engineering, it's by data. And this whole data machine learning is not some sort of fictitious sort of idea. It's working and it's amazing what it's doing. So as we start to really get to that data to work for the industry in a way that it's simple enough to understand and integrates right across the whole business, I'm convinced that we'll be able to accelerate the decision-making processes that are then carbon footprint intelligent and more profitable, particularly productivity. I mean, we're seeing big reductions in the need for inputs, but also yield benefits by all these different techniques. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's it's farmers are making more money doing it, most importantly, and then just as importantly is it's good for the environment. Now that's got to be a good place for our industry.
Yeah, brilliant. It is so exciting. Obviously, governments can't be expected to know everything. That's why they have people advising them, such as yourself. But speaking as candidly as you're able to, what do you think the government grasp of these new technologies is? And do you think we're going to be putting ourselves in a legislative landscape that supports that innovation?
I think I've got I candidly would say the sooner the government get out of the way, the better, and let people get on with things. So I'm a D layer of bureaucracy by nature, but actually for ag tech, food tech innovation, the government has seriously backed us, this industry. We've got over 100 places to learn or develop ag technology in the UK, from all the different centres, universities, colleges. There's an unbelievable amount of investment. It's over 200 million from the DIT alone has gone in the last 5 years into developing and improving the resource that we can get to. In fact, we're always criticised. I always been criticising, that the UK is guilty of not investing for the future. This investment's been done, and now we need to use it. So there's pretty much universally over the whole of the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Cornwall, all over the UK, there are places that you can develop and create ideas. In fact, my first business was an idea as a farmer. And one of the things about innovation is I'm convinced that you've got in your brain, Tom, and many others listening, I've got solutions that are new technologies that are just sitting there as like a ghost behind you that could do that. I did that with strawberry industry, and now 90% of strawberries, which is £1 billion retail value, are using elements of the system I developed 24 years ago. And that it is possible, and it just needs to have that openness to innovation, and that's what we're trying to put together. But yeah, it's really this government has, without getting into politics of this government, have put a lot of money into resourcing it, and it needs to be used better and more often.
So, do you think the bottleneck for some of these new technologies is I suppose knowledge exchange, or is disseminating that information or that new innovation out into the wider industry?
Too often I talk to these great ideas and they don't understand enough about farms. And my family are from 4 or 5 generations of farmers either side, my parents, and I think I can do that bit and help them and translate it, because the farmer actually, I'm not telling you, but you want it to work. You don't want it to make life harder for you. And so when you have somebody that's very tech and sort of science-based trying to sell a product, they sell the tech, not the solution. And or even satisfy the problem with the solution. So that seems to be the biggest problem we have. And actually, I think farmers are rightly to be skeptical of solutions, these ideas, because they're not lacking in them. They're surrounded by them, and it's just choosing the right ones. So one of the things we're working on is building what we call Forward Farms, which is a network of farms that want to pre-test new ideas that are being launched, but not about to be launched. And potentially they might invest in those ideas, not just buy them, but invest in them. And we've now got about 5 or 6 very large scale farms in the country that are doing that. And that's a pretty exciting space. But that means those businesses can test their ideas. And actually, if they're not quite ready, they can fix them before they publicly launch them. So it's called a beta testing process for new tech. But it means we can translate it and get it back onto farm really quickly.
Yeah. But Rob, you've been on this cheese journey with us. You've been tasting cheeses as we. I'm hearing that you've been a bit of a maverick, as you've been with many other things, even with the cheese tasting, and they may not have been, tasted on the same day. But we support all kinds of cheese tasting. We're very inclusive in the Cheese Day Challenge. Which cheeses have stood out for you so far?
Oh, I opened my farm shop on my farm in 1990, and we grew that to quite a nice business. It was a very important part of our profitability, but I absolutely love cheese, and we loved our deli. I love being there on a weekend to talk to people about it. And I remember vividly the first Lincolnshire poacher being delivered from the Jones family, And we heard about it through one of the Lincolnshire farming friends of theirs who happens to live in Shropshire, where I'm from. And I tasted this cheese. Thought, my God, it's brilliant! That is just so good. And at the time, I was a bit of a snob about cheddar being only from Somerset and only from 4 of the key places. And I guess so. I know it's been a Lincolnshire poacher thing, but I just think that cheese has absolutely nailed it. But I don't know. I think there was it should be probably it's unfair, isn't it? But and I'm also and the live one on Saturday. It's great. I missed a bit of it because I was having a family Zoom call. I apologise for that, but actually, Stittleton, I love that story. And I first heard about it. I genuinely at the farm shop we would typically sell at Christmas week about 27 wheels of Stilton. So that's a full wheel. I would tell you, it's a lot of stuff. And so I went to the Welbeck estate. I thought I'm going to buy a lot because you couldn't buy it. It's very hard to get hold of it when it first came out. And I bought about 14 of this and gave them a wad of cash, as you do. And but I forgot to change the Stilton order. So what we had, and I was busily selling the Stilton because it's the best stuff. That's so good. And then, as I said, we had this absolute wall of Stilton that we then had to freeze. We made Stilton and broccoli soup. We made Stilton and God knows what. We ended up smearing it as a skin treatment. You know, it was just we were stuck with Stilton for a long time. We love Stilton, but Stittleton is. I love the story.
Yeah.
I love the maverick behind it. Yeah. I love the fact it's not always what you think it could be because of the unpasteurized milk. It makes it a little bit, and it isn't the same each time. It's slightly different, and they see that as part of its character. So those two are my absolute favourites.
And it's for me, it's a more accessible Stilton as well. I think a number of people have said to me, "Oh, well, actually, sometimes I find Stilton quite a strong taste, and the Stittleton's is a little bit easy to get into." So that's one of the things on this journey. Actually, is there've been a number of people who said, "Well, I love cheese, but I don't like blue cheese, or I don't like goat's cheese, or I don't like and they've tasted some of these fantastic cheeses, and they've realised they actually do like goat's cheese. They just don't like the goat's cheese that they tasted when they were 15 that had been left out all day and wasn't quite in top condition wherever they were."
But people have got a lot better at it, haven't they? I mean, I remember Somerset Brie when that came out. I thought, God, this is filth. I mean, I'm sorry, forgive the farmers. I shouldn't say that. I just thought it was just rubbery and had no character. Yeah. And so, but I think they've got better and better. It's like any of these things. It's an art, and it has to be done really, really thoughtfully, and they've got so much better at it. Sorry, forgive the slight on the Somerset Brie, but I think a bad copy of a European product is not a good idea. It's the same for ours. We talked about this before we went live, but don't copy somebody else's idea. Invent your own. Yeah. And those inventions that are coming through are absolutely stunning, and we're leading the world with it, and it's exciting, and it was done as a thing to try and keep preserve milk through the winter, wasn't it? Cheese originally, but and here we are now with over 1,000 producers, and it's a great British product. But we still import more cheese than we export, so that's an area to think about too.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this cheese. I'll just get unwrapping it.
Very good. Well, so this cheese. It's done very well. It's achieved some massive awards, isn't it?
It has. I mean, it's when I looked into the the list of awards is as long as your arm. It's quite something.
I think it can be confused with Parmesan, but it's not, is it? And it's sort of in that territory. If you're eating Parmesan on its own, it's sort of going there, but not as old. Yeah. And it's ewe milk rather than cow's milk, which is
that's it. I mean, I was doing my reading on Pecorino. This is an English Pecorino from the White Lake Cheese Company in Somerset, of course. But I was doing my research into Pecorino itself. Obviously we know it's a hard Italian cheese. Obviously not obviously, but it is only made with sheep's milk because Pecorino just means ovine or of sheep in Italian. So there's the there's the heritage, and Pecorino Romano, I think, is probably the kind of classic, which just means sheep's cheese from Rome.
Good, good knowledge, Tom. Impressed.
Well, fortunately, Wikipedia. I mean, I hope Wikipedia is right. So I mean, that's a classic, isn't it? You know, all those years ago, they weren't interested in these little minutiae. They were just, what's this? Well, it's sheep's cheese. It's Rome, you know, sheep cheese from Rome. So
it does what it says in the tin. Yeah, literally. I mean, it's not as hard as Parmesan, and but it's definitely got that lovely nutty texture. And I guess they don't want to be compared to it really, but I think it's a really nice. I think it's a great job. I guess I'm just trying to think what I would do with it the most, and I think I would put it with something else. Maybe I would treat it like Parmesan, but in a salad with a very mild, unoverbearing dressing. That could be nice. You still get you don't get competing strong flavors, but it's got a lot of potential.
I think so. I mean, to me, it doesn't. It's not like a Parmesan where you think I've got to find something to grate it over. It's certainly a lot softer than that. It could sit on the cheese board quite comfortably and not be out of place at all. It's got great flavour. I don't know, Rob. Am I supposed to eat the rind? I don't know.
I'm terrible. I do, and if it's got wax in it, I don't. But within that, I do. I think I don't know why I do, but I do. I think probably because it's the brie sort of brain. But then I don't think I would eat. I wouldn't eat a Stilton rind, but some rinds that have been around a bit too long. But well, but I tell you what you can do with the rind though. Top cooking tip is to if you're making a soup, is throw it into a soup.
Oh yeah.
And so you will clean it if you such, but it will give a really nice twist of flavour. So don't waste it.
Well, that's actually.
It'll be like seasoning. Then it will just disappear, but it will just give that amazing sort of, in this case, nutty flavour.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think that's absolutely delicious. Actually, I almost. I don't know whether. I mean, it obviously is being an English pecorino. It's an English version of that cheese. But I wouldn't put it into that box necessarily, because I don't think it is simply a pecorino cheese that happens to be made in England, because I can see it's a bit more diverse, or it's a bit more. I don't know. For me, there's a bit more to. I don't know anything about cheese. That's my caveat, but there's a bit more to it.
I can see why they've called it that, to give it ease of understanding what it is. I just wonder whether that it should have its own name, but you wouldn't want to buy a French Stilton, would you? So I don't know, but it's a good cheese, so that's what matters. And it's quite a brave thing to do, because it is taking on something that is established and known. It'd be interesting where they go with it, whether they age it more, and what happens to it then, or whatever. But no, congratulations to the White Lake team.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and they're obviously well known for they've got a real diversity in their cheese stable. They produce a whole range of different cheeses. So they're doing a fantastic job. We had a great Tour cheese from them the other day, which I really fell for. That was absolutely delicious. But yeah, this was the supreme champion at the Bath and West British Cheese Awards in 2019, and it took the silver award at the World Cheese Awards in 2019-2020. Well, that's
amazing.
That's not to be sniffed at all, is it?
No, especially in 2020. It's a difficult year, full stop, isn't it? But
that's right.
Yeah. So no, it's a lovely cheese, and it's something a bit different, isn't it? It's something I would, if I was behind a deli talking to somebody about it, I would think of other things they can do with it. Yeah. And it's something it's not a routine thing you'd see as amongst the sort of more obvious players that you might have in a cheese board. So I'm a great fan.
It's not a great story.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I don't know where the scoring works for me, but I mean, what's your score, Tom?
I normally do ask for a score. Yeah, I suppose it depends what you're going to do with it. I mean, if this was sitting on a cheese board and you pair it with something kind of beautiful and possibly a little bit sweet,
Mm.
I could easily give that an 8.5. That's an 8 to. I'm a generous marker. I do know that. I'm a bit of a soft touch, but
I tell you,
I
I
think
tell you
that's
what,
a lovely, lovely cheese.
I think it's got elements of it would go well with quince or any of those slightly sweet but citrusy fruits.
Yeah.
I think it would go very well with that as a jam with it,
Mm.
and maybe a piece of sourdough
Mm.
just to take it off. But no, I think you can make a lovely meal with this. So I'd happily buy it again. I think, and if that means that, then I'm sure it's got to be an 8 or more. So
Yeah.
there's me. So yeah, I look
So
forward
Rob,
to seeing it again.
yeah, well, me too, actually, and
Mm,
it is a great talking point, isn't it? And it's
mm.
and I do know people who say they don't like sheep's cheese either, and yet this is not a
You wouldn't no.
no
It's
no
exactly yeah.
no
But
you
that's good. That's because they're doing a good job, and that they've thought that through. And that's the same with the goat's cheese argument. You've got to think it through and
yeah
keep the billy goat out the yard as well. But yeah, it's they but it's getting that right. And it's all about really professional businesses doing a great job.
yeah brilliant.
Mm.
So Rob, how could you or how could you see some of the new technologies coming into the world of cheesemaking?
So really interesting you say that because we're doing a lot around soil health and with that again we're using biological treatments and different ways of measuring soil health. And I'm pretty certain with the big leaps we can make in understanding bacterial fungal ratios in the soil and improving organic matter, we could improve the length of time the grass yield and actually the length of time the cows can be on grass if they're outside. And actually what you'll get if you ate a mature cheddar that's 12 months old now, you'll be able to smell the silage from the winter on it. And it's the same with if it was spring or summer, you'd smell the hay or dry sort of smell. So what they eat is what it'll taste of. Now, I think how we grow the grass, which essentially is the food source for this, whether it's cut and stored and turned into silage or it's what's outside. But I think we could with different treatments to the soil that are biological and completely carbon neutral could actually change the type of grass and also how long they could be out on the grass.
Yeah.
We're already seeing significant changes around the ability for these higher organic matter soils to be able to get out on them quicker. So the damage to the flooding is less of an issue. It's like a big sponge, so it's like a buffer. And so that actually could really so basically it's the food source for the animals, be it sheep or cows. That could be really exciting. So I think that's probably the most obvious technology I can see here.
I mean, it's amazing having tasted with a lot of cheesemakers in the last few weeks. The first thing they do when they're tasting their own cheese, they look, oh, when was this made? Ah, yes, well that was an April cheese milk, or that was a February, or that would have been a fresh something. And as a complete novice, I don't think about that at all. I think, what kind of cheese is it? Okay, is it nice or not? And actually, they'll say, well, every batch is different, every cheese is different. Even within that particular terroir or the flavour that you do get from that dairy or that farm, it then varies with that. So that's a really good point about making the soils healthier and having a more, I suppose, therefore a healthier input in terms of the vegetation.
The really interesting part is soil microbiome is living organisms, and our gut is a microbiome. So the soil health and gut health are interconnected. So the more you improve soil health, actually will help the animals' soil health. So what you'll also see is animals that have a more diverse and will become healthier as well. And so the whole thing is interconnected with us, the animals, and the soil. And the more we work on generating stronger microbiome and a wider diversity of living organisms in the soil, all of this will feed through to what the food product tastes like, which is also full of interesting little creatures. If you had a microscope, you'd see them. And so that's creating all these different tastes and flavors.
Yeah.
And in a very good way for us too.
Well, I used to hear my father say, you've got to eat a ton of dirt before you die. as a farmer saying. Now at the time, it was kind of delivered as if, oh, don't worry if that's if you're going to get we'll all eat, you will eat a little bit of muck, a little bit of something. It's whether that was you have to eat a whole ton of dirt before it'll kill you, or whether it was meant over the course of your lifetime you'll probably eat a ton of dirt because it's I don't know, you're out in the field and a bit of soil goes in your mouth, or you're doing something, and but actually that you're right, that kind of soil gut interaction is amazing, and there's been some research done about actually how just touching the soil and gardening and interacting with soil is so important. One of my New Year's resolutions last year was to touch the soil every day, because I realized even as a farmer I don't touch the soil every day, and I don't know, I found that very grounding as well. So
literally, brilliant. Britt, yeah, I totally agree. I love it, and it's probably part of where I've got so many problems with kinds of allergens is because of this hygienic world. But that's a whole different conversation. But so yes, getting dirty. What was the program you were on? Getting mucky, wasn't it? That was the
Born Mucky.
Born Mucky. Well, there you go. That's perfect.
Oh, well, Rob, it's been really exciting having you tasting with us. Thank you for that, and thank
Pleasure.
you for your kind of insights into the world of ag tech and all the numerous things you do. So and great to have you paired with this beautiful English Pecorino. 8 out of 10.
Absolutely. Well, why not? It's a good, lovely cheese.